we were speaking about those early days when we went and worked in Santiniketan and so on. From the kind of artist we interacted with and the kind of things we looked at probably at that time in the 70s in Santiniketan, I think that led to your having interest in certain areas. Like 70s, late 70s, I mean when you know, we were mid 70s to late 70s when you're working and evolving as a sculptor. That was a time when there was a transition was taking place from modernism to what people call postmodernism and so on. But at the same time, suppose for these various teachers that we had, like Somnath Ho, Viswabharati and Ramkinga, who had a great interest in modernism and a human dimension to the interest in art. Probably, I don't know if that led you to look at the early modernists more than anyone else. I mean, probably, you know, you had interest in Radha, you have Bodhdale, in Gyakyomiti, and so on, rather than maybe who might have been, I mean, you know, on the scene in the 60s and 70s. I mean, I mean, like post-pop sculpture and things like that. I mean, I think you looked more towards those people. Because they also had an interest in the material in one way and in human interest. Kind of thing.
See, what was happening is that I think we are talking about these three teachers, and you know, the kind of material that they worked with, that you would really say that of course, you know, Viswabharati and Kinkarada, they were really working with clay as a medium for most his plannings and this kind of
it's all things that are available to them locally.
I think that's one of the reasons probably because, you know, these other mediums have never come to our institution
at that time.
That time, you know, those days. So I really don't know if anybody else has worked with, say, fiberglass even.
No,
you know, it was never introduced even. That, of course, today people are working there, and that was all much after 80s. So I think all these years, you know, the basic technique of doing something in clay and doing some terracottas and or making a cement or a cement cast or a plaster cast, and occasionally having casting was there, like bronze casting, and that too, I would say, the bronze casting was introduced by, I mean, you know, or activated, I would say, with Viswabharati's his own work. And sometime I remember that, you know, casting Kinkarada's that Tagore's portrait, you know, that was probably one of the largest casting when we were students. So this was one of the reasons that, you know, that my association or my interest for, say, you know, Gyakyomiti or because of they're also sort of working on one medium and then goes for indirect, because when nobody worked directly with metal. Anything which was called metal, there were many people in the 60s and 70s in the West that they really did with direct metal.
The direct metal is. We were also having some artists who were beginning to do that. Rao Kanneri and these people were kind of doing this welding and
weldings
so on.
and things like that. And even we had, of course, like Pilu Puchkanwala did, and Davir did some of the weldings and things like that. But I suppose that those who really took to those things were not really doing much casting again. You know, like Janaki Ram in the south, and so I think the kind of thing that what made you to be building an interest for sculpture was this clay modeling itself, and you really wanted to explore what you could really do in that direction. So that's probably one of the reasons that our inclination and the interest for, you know, these people who were the masters in the West were building up.
And also I was just thinking, when I think back, I mean, you know, like our contemporaries were there, like Ravindra Reddy and Dhruv Mistry and all that. I mean, almost passed out, I think, at the same time as you did. And, but they were, I mean, almost on began on a post-pop thing, where you do the human figure, but you look at it from a distance. I mean, you know, you are not empathizing with it completely. I mean, you do not know where you stand in relation to them. I mean, it's a tongue-in-cheek look sometimes, retake and so on. But in your case, there was a kind of strong empathy for the thing, which the modernist had, which the three artists who kind of inspired you in Santiniketan had, as well as the early modernist they had. It was a great faith in man somewhere in the sculptures, alongside the exploration of bronze and things like that. So I think that you probably took on those two sides together. I mean, like the exploration of the traditional medium at a new level.
Yeah.
I mean, like the early modernist, bronze casting is such an old thing.
Yeah.
But then the modernists were trying to take this and explore at a new level. I mean, from Rodha to Gyakyomiti, that is, I think, that happened. And that is one thing that interested you. And at the same time, there was also a great human interest in, I mean, man and exploring life. And so you get these two things together. So it start moving, I mean, in a kind of thing. And it's somewhere, of course, this question is something that is always raised at every, I mean, period, I think, in art. I mean, so Rabindranath was asked this, and he himself answers that somewhere. He says, it's like your left leg and your right leg. You know, there is, you can't, you move. Sometimes the left leg is forward, then the right leg, then the left leg, and so on. So you have to put one forward to move. So sometimes it's your interest in the material, the media, and kind of thing. Sometimes it's interest in what you want to say. I mean, the human content, the human interest. So these two are parts. You can't really say that I'm only interested in this, I'm not interested in the other thing. So in a sense that the early modernist had also this dual interest, and at the same time trying to keep both these at pace, I mean, you know, moving. And I think that was one thing that, I mean, attracted you or got into your sculpture, maybe unconsciously, but it got into your sculpture. When we look back, you see that your sculptures have these two sides. I mean, of course, it may be, if you think late modernism, one could call that technically or whatever, but exploring this medium and bringing out the possibilities of this. On the other hand, this great human interest, which actually grew alongside. I think this is something that you can see in your work, as also as later it grew big. When you left and you went to Delhi, gradually within 2-3 years, I think your sculptures began to grow in size. So these.
Yeah, it's true. You know, what happens, because that itself is like kind of, you know, the making of, or my interest towards even, you know, the portraits.